Today we're beginning a new topic, and that is leading or leadership for all generations. Our content today is the differences between the generations have grown. When I write a message or a text on my mobile phone, I write every letter and I watch my punctuation. When my children see this, they laugh because they say there are whole words there that you can just tap on. The younger generation even use more emojis and hardly any text. When we think about when was the first time we held a mobile device in our hands, then we will show even clearer that between us there are big differences. And these differences have never in history of this earth been so big. The differences between the generations are huge. And we have to take this into consideration in all our communication, the way we lead. And in all the processes, whether it's in our churches or companies, to build, we need to watch this. We're getting older. Most of us who are in positions of authority in our organizations where we lead, and we need to know that this difference to the younger generation, to the younger people, this is getting bigger and bigger. And we need to see this in the way we think and lead. Technology and also the speed of technological processes have increased. And this makes it a real challenge for us. When we understand a generation, when we understand what characteristics this generation has, it makes it a lot easier for us to target the right level of communication so that we can, whether it's church or organization, that we can have a good teamwork and we can work together. The question that we need to ask isn't where does a person come from, which nation or which country, but we need to ask the challenge of this question that even in our German nation we have a lot of different cultures, and they would say they're German, but it's not about that. It's about which generation they actually come from. The generations have characteristics that define them. And I found a good definition for what is a generation. A generation is a group of people who were born in a certain period of time and grew up in a certain place. That means people were born in a certain time and they show similar characteristics. What are the things they like? What are the values they hold to? And these characteristics help us to find points where we can start to connect and influence each other, and how our work together can grow into a whole different level. Where these folk have come from, whether it's a city or rural area, that's also a consideration. Also, how was their childhood? Where did they get their information? Was it from their parents, from newspapers, magazines, or from the internet, or from the social media? The channels where they get the information is very different between the generations. And then we also have the different beliefs and expectations in life, and this also define generations. Generations are mainly influenced by three keys. What do the parents, what were their thoughts? Secondly, what technology was there in the time of their growing up? And then thirdly, what were the economical situations for this person in their generation? It's very important for us that in spite of all this, that each person is still uniquely different. Of course, we could say they're similar, but when we look at the people through generational lenses, we do see we have a good tip of how these people will behave and how they are. We have many generational people, different generations in our working place. We have different generations like Y and Z, and then first of all we have the Generation Z, born after 1996. They don't really remember anything about the 11th of September 2001, and so they behave differently. They are people that are under the age of 25. There was no time in their lives without social media. They're also the technology professionals. Then we have the generation that's a bit older, Generation Y, or the Millennials. They between the age of 25 and 40. And they are not so young anymore. And they're the ones that were born between 78 and 1995. And in this generation, they have delayed coming of age milestones such as entering the workforce, getting married, buying a home. They've traveled more, they've delayed getting married and gathering other experiences. And this generation is a generation that's also dependent on technology, but they're also technology professionals. Then we have Generation X. And these are the ones that are 41 to 54 years old now. They came onto this earth between 65 and 77. And they are the ones we would say are the glue of the society today. From nature, they're skeptical. They have experienced disappointments in their lives, maybe divorce of their parents. They've experienced the turmoil happening in this world. They know the influence of materialism. They've had a challenge raising children, but also caring for their older parents. Life isn't very easy for them.
Und das Leben ist nicht so einfach für sie.
And then lastly we have the baby boomers. They are the people who are, I would say, over 60 plus. They are the ones who are the post-war generation. And this generation still has the most influence, I would say, on our planet. They have the most financial power. They have the highest political influence. They have a very high work ethic, very competitive, even in their thinking. And they are prepared to still work very, very hard. And now the question to you, to us. Do you have the various generations in mind? You're a leader. You're not just leading people, for example, Germans. You are leading different generations. Do you have that in mind? Are you aware of that? The second question, are you generationally sensitive? That means clearly, do you know what their needs are? What their characteristics are of these various generations? At this point, you can please send us a comment. We would like to hear from you. What experiences have you had? Maybe there's something we've overlooked. Maybe there's something you've noticed in your generation. And we would like to hear from you.